Hello, and I hope you guys are having a fabulous week already. There is lots going on astrologically to be talked about. We have a full moon coming up on the 11th, which is Thursday, and it is a full moon happening in the sign of Aquarius. Before I get into that, though, I really want to speak on what's happening leading up to that. Because it's relevant and it helps us to prepare um, for this full moon and the things that will inevitably arise for some of us. So let me jump into this. On Tuesday, Venus in the sign of Cancer opposed Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. And in this type of conversation, there's always um, a throwing off that needs to occur because there's an imbalance that is happening or a disharmony of some sort. And we look at the planets that are involved in this conversation. Venus has to deal with our values and what gives meaning to us, relationships, our needs, how we go about getting those needs met, how we're able to meet other needs. It's relationship to self, and it is how we're able to meet our needs and what gives us value and meaning. And with Venus being in the sign of Cancer, in this type of conversation with Capricorn, for some of us, there can be a need to throw off the imbalance of where we might be giving away our personal power or authority. And in doing that, we're denying ourselves something. And so there can be this imbalance that's occurring. And now there's a need for us to take responsibility and ownership of what is ours and to claim our own personal authority and to really meet ourselves where we're at and to nurture ourselves and to validate ourselves. Later on, we have the sun in a relationship to Uranus, and this is one that can speak of tension because there is a need to liberate from some type of crystallized structure that is getting in the way of us being able to, you know, feel empowered within our life force, where we feel seen, right? And for a lot of us, there are deep lessons in learning that we can nurture ourselves and validate ourselves. And whenever that happens and true self-identification happens, that is rooted in our own values as opposed to others and is rooted in personal authority that's healthy and it takes responsibility, then the need to be seen disappears because we don't need it, because we feel seen by ourselves. And so when this conversation is going on throughout this week, there are deep lessons within this and within these things. There's also a conversation with Mars and the sign of Taurus that's having a really beautiful conversation with Neptune. And this is occurring the 10th through the 12th. And Neptune is in the sign of Pisces. And Pisces and Neptune speak to timelessness, and Neptune and Pisces speak to where we naturally spiritualize. And this conversation that it's having with Mars, which is the desires that emanate from within us, are which are rooted in our values and what gives us meaning and our personal relationship to self, this conversation really speaks to the things that we've been working on prior to this are it's beneficial and it's divine help that is now allowing us to fully integrate this and to have that moment of understanding of what true spiritualization can mean and how it starts with the relationship with self. So, as all of this is going on the heels of the full moon that's going to happen on Thursday in the sign of Aquarius, it is really preparing us for the energetics of what is occurring and how we are supposed to go about doing this through this integration process. It's a deep, deep integration process right now. And anytime I think about a deep integration process, especially whenever it's involving Aquarian and Uranian energy, like it is, there's also a detoxification that is occurring as well. In order to integrate, there needs to be the space to do it. And to create that space, there has to be a detoxification. And for a lot of us, this is emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And so it's time to really pay attention to the things that are occurring. With the full moon in Aquarius happening where it's happening at the 19-degree mark, this is the same degree mark that fired off the triple conjunction that happened between the North Node in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus and Mars in Taurus. So the things that were happening at the end of last month and at the very beginning of this month that were really about aligning oneself with values and what gives us meaning and allowing our desires to reflect that is going to be really highlighted with this full moon because it is firing off the grand, the fixed grand cross. And so how we can think about this is in the fixed grand cross, there can be this feeling of stuckness that does occur of being fixed in a type of rigidity. And how that usually manifests and occurs in our lives is where we become identified with the familiarity of what is known. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's healthy or beneficial. With this type of energy, it's going to highlight where there have been karmic cycles that are repeating. And this is really a time with what's happening with this full moon and that triple conjunction is this is a way to speed up evolution for some of us on a soul level. There are a lot of us out here right now that are here because we want to help and we want to be of service and we want to be rooted and grounded in values that are natural as opposed to what's unnatural and what's happening within the societies that we find ourselves with the abuse of natural resources, with the conditioning within society that is rooted in patriarchal values and beliefs that are really shaming and induce shame and guilt. That's not natural. Right now, what's occurring is all of these things are going to be coming up this week. And it's for all of us to be able to evolve. And how we do that is through the emotional body. And so this full moon is the sun standing across the sky from the moon, and it's the sun in Leo. And so it is the life force. It is our creative actualization. It is where we can find purpose and find a way that is, socially relevant, um, that helps society and the collective with whatever it is that we're creatively actualizing. And so there are these themes that revolve around this. And there can be, with this sun illuminating this full moon, emotional content coming from the surface, from the subconscious, that can stem around where we have experienced trauma of some sort. And it is so we are able to finally deal with it, to emotionally deal with it as a way to transmute that energy and to use it in a creative and purposeful way that is relevant to society, that benefits the tribe, right? These are all kind of these archetypes of Aquarian and Leonian energy. And we can see within the collective right now, there is a lot of collective trauma going on. And we can see how there are instances that are really not being highlighted as much as they should be, that are the beneficial instances where we can see how, as a society, we have came together and came with compassion and a set of values that maybe isn't the values of the powers at be. And so we can see this in the collective right now, that the things that transpired with the Black Lives movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, we see that all of the protest, all of these things, all of this trauma that is, spanned lifetimes, centuries, is now coming up. And we're seeing that, Breonna Taylor, the officers who murdered her are now being held accountable because the collective has spoken and it has been outraged with the corruption and the immoral practices that have been happening in the external authority figures. And so you can see that the change is occurring and these things are coming up. And so there's more that keeps coming up. And then personally, things will be coming up as a way to really finally transmute that and to integrate the emotional lessons as a way to evolve and as a way to help further the collective. So this is a very powerful full moon in this sign. And it's one that speaks to inclusivity and to humanity. And it is in this fixed grand cross. And so things will be coming out more in regards to looking at kind of the Taurian side that's being fired up in this fixed grand cross, of things dealing with the commodification of natural resources, of global warming, of, capitalism and what that's rooted in. And all of these things we're going to be seeing really come up in full force as a way to deal with it. And there can be times where, there's been a resistance to that. And we're now seeing how it's reflected in what's occurring within the world with Earth and our ecosystem and diseases and viruses and these things. So you can see that this is a time that really is trying to usher in this kind of Aquarian age of inclusivity and community and tribe. And I think I just said it, inclusivity, but all of these things. So we are in powerful times, and this is a powerful, powerful full moon. And it can be really scary for some of us because the fixed energy induces fear, and it is because of what is known and familiar. And this is a time where we're really individually and collectively trying to throw that off, because what is familiar doesn't necessarily mean that it's that great or that it is beneficial. And we can see that playing out. And so this is a time where we are being called, those of us who are choosing to want to help humanity, this is a time where we're being called to really integrate fully these deep, deep emotional lessons and this content that comes up as a way to transmute it and as a way for it to become something that helps the tribe, right? So after the full moon, we have like a Mars trine Pluto and a Sun opposition to Saturn. And these really symbolize, if you're going to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. You've got to be the change you want to see. There needs to be a full integration with this Mars trining Pluto of the things that we've been working on. This is the symbolism in the conversations that are happening in the sky right now, that there needs to be a leap of faith, even if there's fear, and to make friends with that fear. Because it is a sign that something great is on the precipice, and it is the unknown, and it means that a new foundation is being paved that is firmer, that is going to allow us to really build from it in a way that can stand and can be timeless and is rooted in, you know, deeper meaning than what was before. And with the Sun and the conversation with Saturn and Aquarius, this is really about, for those of us who are doing deep, deep work and who are wanting to be of service, this is really symbolizing that it needs to be implemented. The things that we're integrating need to be implemented in a way that is socially relevant and that benefits the whole, and isn't wrapped up around our image or our persona or our ego, that it's rooted in inclusivity and compassion and what is relevant. So there are deep, deep soul lessons for a lot of us, and those that are awakened to this energy are going to be able to use it for deep, deep soul work. I know I hear clients and friends talk about shadow work. This is one of those things. There's a lot of that is going to be coming up this week as a way to really liberate it and evict it from the soul consciousness, and the individuated subconscious, as a way to have a full integration and to promote spiritualization. And so I want all of us to think about the things that we need to detoxify from. And I want us to be thinking about the things that we want to fill that up with in replacement, because now there's space to do that, to have a full holistic integration. I want those of you who are really into like self-care and stuff, there are really good oils that you can use, like Buddha wood would be a great one for this, frankincense, myrrh. Epsom salt baths need to be taken. I feel like this is like, think about it. If you are detoxifying and having an integration process, there is this period of time where, you know, you're releasing toxins, you know, and you're building things. Think about like working out, like you tear muscles and then it releases toxins and then it rebuilds itself and it creates more muscle. This is kind of that emotional work. Emotional trauma creates dis-ease in the body, and therefore there needs to be a detoxification whenever we are working through these things. And Epsom salt, magnesium, things like that are really good to be taking right now as a way to help that from a holistic point of view, and standing. And there are great stones that we could be using. And if you want to know more, send me a message on my Facebook page of Nonconformist Conscience, or like just you can also interact with me by posting on there. I don't mind, and I can answer more of these questions. But this is a week to do the damn deal. Like that's, how I feel. It's a week to really look at, you know, things that maybe we've been too afraid to look at. And there's a need to express these things, because when we express them, it releases shame and guilt. And talking about it and expressing it, or creatively expressing it in whatever way you feel drawn to, helps reclaim personal authority and responsibility in a healthy way. And so it's reclaiming these pieces that some of us need to do, because there's just been, a lot of trauma that's happened or occurred. So, I mean, if you think about it, astrology it's not causative, it's only reflecting. And then you can see that it will reflect things about the collective. And then when you look at the collective in a personal way, you can see things that are emanating from you that are being reflected out into the collective, certain dynamics or traumas or what be. And so this is a time where all of us are going to be having big observation about this and being able to work through it and transmute it. So I want to say I appreciate all of you guys who watch these and who comment and who do, interact. I appreciate your patience, because I have really been immersing myself in the energy of the things that are unfolding for me in a personal way with my family. I've been homeschooling kids. My son is 5 and he is starting kindergarten, but he's been home with me this whole time. And then my 13-year-old, they have been homeschooled for almost 3 years since COVID and some other things that occurred. And now my kids are starting school this week, and it's bittersweet, because it is going to be a change for me and I need to get used to it. I've had kids at home with me pretty much 24/7 for the last 5 years, nonstop. And now I want to send my little guy off on his new adventure and journey, and feel like he is prepared for that. So I've been getting these videos out a little bit later, not only because of this heat wave that is happening in my part of the country, but also because I have really been immersing myself in what's unfolding for me as a mom in this new journey that I'm on. The sweet part about the bittersweet is I'm excited for them, and I'm also excited for myself, because I will get to work with more of you guys and I get to put out more content and classes that I'm going to be doing and putting on my YouTube for you guys. And so I just love you guys so much, the ones that message me and interact with me. I love hearing your feedback. You guys teach me more than I think I teach you about astrology, or I talk about astrology. I don't even know if you guys know that or recognize that, but you do, and you help me so much by giving me your reflections and your feedback. I appreciate it. I do this because I love it and I feel like it's beneficial for those who are interested in it. And the way for me to be better at this is to get feedback. And so I learned so much from you guys, and I love you, and I really want you guys to love on yourselves and to really, really work with this powerful energy that's occurring. There's so much healing that can happen on a personal level that will transmute out into the collective. And that is what I feel like we're all being called to do right now, is to do this deep, deep personal healing so that way it can benefit the whole in the long run, even if we don't realize it. So have a good week, and I will talk to you guys soon.